Hello, my friends, and welcome. Welcome to week 1 of our April Poetry Celebration. Hooray! I'm so glad you're here. I am so grateful to all of you who gave me a hand in getting the word out. We've already got some wonderful poems through the door and some momentum. So thank you so much for everyone who shared that invitation video. Thank you so much for everyone who liked it, who subscribed to the channel, who did anything at all. We're a team, and I just appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you being here. So here we are in week 1, and as I say, we already have some poems through the door. I want to just share a couple of those. They are delightful. In the comments on the first invitation video, my friend Karen wrote this. As ice morphs to rain, winter attire constricts. Bluebirds flit like grace bestowed. Resident mockingbird claims the bare lilac. Kate's Poetry Month returns again. I thaw and pick up my pen. Bravo, Karen. I love that so much. We are all thawing and picking up our pen. Here we are in this month of poetry, and as I say, our theme this month is love, which you can interpret any way you like. My dear friend Betsy also wrote a short poem that I just wanted to include. Roses and Violets, Red and Blue. My best poem until I joined you. Bravo, Betsy. Maihu Erfad. Well done entirely. Betsy's learning Irish, so she knows what that means. So great. Now, you might recall, if you had a chance to watch that first video, that the first spark, I gave a sort of bonus spark, was to write a poem that honors a poet who in some way lifted your boat, inspired you, helped you, gave you something. And my dear friend Terry wrote a poem that moved me so much. It's called Saint Anne, and just so that you know, this poem is for Anne Sexton, and you'll hear the title of her book, Live or Die, which Terry refers to in this poem. And it's a real love poem, so thank you, Terry. Here it is, Saint Anne. Broken, alone, at the end of a then-known life, I found Live or Die at the local library. You chose one, and I the other, though your choices made mine possible. All that courage, the mirror held to madness, our own fractures made visible. Whole now, you know how many women you have saved. Oh, that moves my heart. That's what a poem can do for us and what a poet can do for us. Thank you for that, Terry. My friend Louise sent a poem that honors her mother, and I just loved it. It's definitely a love poem. Oh, mother, though we travel far and wide, you'll always be by my side. You are a true friend. What you taught me at your knee is in my heart, that I can be what I want to be in the end. So dear. We have a couple poems that came in just honoring spring. And I thought this, I do feel it. I hear there's snow coming, but I really see the daffodils blooming. And in my front yard, there's some scilla and still some snowdrops and crocus and the birds. It's just a thrilling time. So this is by Angelica, who goes by Tony. And I like what she gave herself like a little title, and she says, Haverhill residence, Latina, first generation poet. Bravo, Tony, I love that. Here's Tony's poem, Inspiration from Easter Sunday. Day by day, each and every day is truly a blessing. Breathing in love, breathing out peace. Some days I am reminded of the miracle we call life. Every cell, every organ working together in unconscious unison, coordinated, breathtaking. Every step is a miracle. Every opportunity to walk, see and hear, comprehend this life we live. Tomorrow is never promised to anyone. Take this opportunity to bless each day. Regardless of the challenges we all face, we are love. We are life. I love those last lines. We are love. We are life. It's beautiful. And my friend Joy sent a beautiful poem called New Horizons. And again, this sense of burgeoning and beginning. Spring, rebirth, questions, decisions. What will I do? Down what path will I choose to walk? Will it be the right one? Am I ready? Searching for answers, seeking new directions, new possibilities, new challenges, praying, confiding in God, my friend. Reaching out for guidance and reassurance that wherever I journey, whatever my destiny, God will be by my side to walk with me, to comfort me, to hold me, to encourage me, to love me. That's beautiful. And whatever your belief, that feeling of being accompanied by God, by the world, by nature, by your friends, whatever that is, just take that in from Joy's poem, that sense of being loved and supported as you walk through this life. My friend Sarah sent me a poem that I also love, and to me it kind of connects with Joy's poem. It's called The Lantern, and it's another way of feeling like the path is lit. So this is by Sarah, who's a marvelous artist and astrologer and teacher of poetry herself. This poem is called The Lantern. Tonight I will enter a dark garden. I will hold the lantern I carved in a black stone. This stone nudged my toe as I walked along the beach alone and imagined love. What mysteries are pressed into the dark angles of my light-giving stone, the moon, as she grows. There's mystery in that and beauty. Now, my friend Tricia, as it happens, is also studying Seamus Heaney, and I just love that she created a poetry path for herself, which any of us can do. So please be inspired to create your own. So Tricia decided, I'm going to read out what she says. She's reading Opened Ground, which is Seamus's selected poems 1966 to 1996. Seamus Heaney, the great Irish poet. And she writes, and at page 25, I had an idea. I would read the poem however many times I needed and then choose a phrase or two, just some language that somehow spoke to me. That phrase I wrote at the top of my journal page. Then I would reflect on it and write a poem inspired by it. Sometimes the phrase itself never finds its way into the poem, but the idea has been suggested in some way. So the poem that she was working with is called The Wife's Tale, and she says the phrase that caught me was, quote, such quiet. And here's the poem that came from it. Escorted by the pallbearers, we filed into the pews where they led us. The church already grown quiet with the ceremony. Then the casket rolled slowly down the aisle, setting itself too close for having to be there, too far for empty hands to touch. That's powerful, Tricia. And finally, I wanted to share a poem I wrote yesterday before Poetry Month started. My friend Cheryl sent me a poem that she wrote about why she began writing poems when she was 8 years old. And I loved it so much, and I was inspired by it. One of the reasons, she said, was that she was so lit up by the natural world. And I dare say I am too, and I I would be willing to bet good money that you are too, that pretty much anyone who finds themselves in this poetry celebration is also madly in love with this natural world. So my poem comes from that feeling that poetry is itself in nature. So this is called April Eve for Cheryl. The breath of poetry stirs the world always. It is there in bird speech and squirrel conversation. It ruffles the lake into a pool of shining letters. The hemlock prints it with sun on the sky. Stones purr in their slow pleasure when it warms their gray skin. Delighted, the grass blushes green to perceive it, and rain dances across the greening world in a torrent of words and imaginings that brings flowers shouting up into the light. I hear it, and you hear it, the breath of poetry, that lovely exhalation that quickens and kindles the spirit, that links one and everyone in word and being. We are the ones who listen for it, faithful and attentive. And like kids at a party, we delight in breathing the thrill of it into every waiting ear. Pick up your pen. Speak out, poet. Take a lungful of that enlivening breath and pass it on. So that's what we're doing here this month. We're taking a lungful of enlivening poetry and passing it on. Well, I told you last week that we have some wonderful prizes, and I find this so exciting. We have these marvelous notebooks from Jumping Fox Design. There's the lovely little fox. And I just wanted to show you, when I get a notebook, I like to make it my own. I put in a little owl there and a little washi tape and just begin to write in it. Here's my drafty poem for today, not done. And just to say again, I allow myself to just scratch and scribble. Don't make it hard. Keep it easy. If your goal is to write a set number of poems, as mine is, especially since I know that the days are busy sometimes, I have to make it easy to come to the page and to keep the obstacles from cropping up, right? To keep and the obstacles that really can crop up are expectations. Like, this has got to be, a Wordsworthian level contribution. And I just have to say, no, it doesn't, Kate. It just has to be some words. So go to your notebook and write some words. So here's, again, this beautiful, we have these notebooks as a prize. We're going to have 3 of these to give out. Again, when you contribute poems, I put your name in the hat as many weeks as you contribute poems. So this is very exciting that we'll have these gorgeous, really wonderful notebooks. Thank you again, Jumping Fox Design. And I'm also excited to tell you that we have another set of prizes. Can you believe it? My friend and mentor, Dana Wilde, she runs the Positive Mindset for Entrepreneurs Club, which I'm a member of and have been for 2 years, and highly recommend. I'll put a link to Dana's club in the notes. Dana is a brain trainer. She teaches us to do things the fun, light, and easy way. She's brilliant. She's so kind and funny and just a wonderful human being. And I love what I learned from her, and I love the club, which is full of brilliant, funny, real people who lift each other up. And anyway, so I can't say enough about her. I'll show you next week. I've loaned it out, but she wrote a wonderful book which put me onto her called Brain Training. And anyway, Dana is contributing to our prizes by sharing 5 $20 gift cards to Amazon.com. How fun is that? So that means that we can have a lot more prizes, and I love that. So thank you, Dana Wilde, for believing in us and for so generously supporting and encouraging us. I'm so grateful. I will also be throwing in some prizes this year. I want to send out some physical copies of my poetry books. More on that as we go. So this week I want to share a couple love poems with you. First, I want to. This is a new poet to me. His name is Tim Seibles. I hope I'm saying that right. Seibles. I'll put a link, or at least I'll put his name in the note below this video. I just bought his book. This is New and Selected Poems. It's his most recent, called Voodoo Libretto. And how I heard about Tim was I subscribe to poets.org and I get a poem every day. And when I read this poem, it rocked my world. Actually, I can say it moved me so deeply, and I wanted to share it with you. And it's called Naive by Tim Seibles. And there's an epigraph at the top which says, "I love you, but I don't know you." And that's attributed to a Mennonite woman. And actually, before I read the poem, I want to read Tim's note. Tim writes, "The initial inspiration for Naive was the statement by the Mennonite woman featured in the epigraph. Just the idea that someone in these times could say, 'I love you, but I don't know you,' simply touched my heart. Almost immediately, I began to think of my own innocence, much of it lost in adolescence. This brought to mind Derek DeLarge, one of my best friends in elementary school. I hadn't thought about him in probably 40 years. We were such crazy bubbleheads, so much like puppies, really. It's hard not to wonder where such sweetness goes and what being an adult really asks of us." So now, with that in mind, here's Naive. When I was 7, I walked home with Derek DeLarge, my arm slung over his skinny shoulders, after-school sun buffing our lunch boxes. So easy, that gesture, so light. The kind of love that lands like a leaf. It was 1963. We were two black boys whose snaggle-toothed grins held 1,000 giggles. Remember wanting to play every minute as if that was why we were born? Those hands that bring us shouting into this life must open like a fanfare of big band horns. Though this world is nothing like where we'd been, we come anyway, astonished as if to Mardi Gras in full swing. There must be a time when a child's heart builds a chocolate sunflower while katydids burnish the day with their busy wings. I had to write in part of this. This itching that holds me now. Sorry, this itching fog, I had to write in, the way it printed is missing a line, I'm sorry about that. This itching fog that holds me now. This knowing, the early welcome that once lived inside me was somehow sent away. How I talk myself back into all the regular disguises, but still walk these streets, believing in the weather of the unruined heart. My friends with crow's feet edging their eyes keep looking for a kinder city, though they don't want to seem naive. When was the last time you wrapped your arm around someone's shoulder and walked him home? That's such a great question. That's such a great question. So that poem, yes. And one more. So because of Tim's poem, well, Tim's poem and this poem give us our spark this week. Let me just read you. This is just a short little poem that is charming. It's called Jenny Kissed Me. It's by Leigh Hunt, who lived 1810 to 1873. I love all of these. I collect them like baseball cards. These little Everyman poetry books. I have a stack of them, and they're great. And here is Jenny Kissed Me by Leigh Hunt. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping down from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief who love to get sweets into your list, put that in. Say I'm weary, say I'm sad, say that health and wealth have missed me, say I'm growing old, but add, Jenny kissed me. Yes, yes, Leigh Hunt. Yes, yes, Tim Seibles. Yes, we can put our arm around someone's shoulders and be loving. And yes, we can remember moments of love, and they can make things worth it. So that's our spark for this week, is if you'd care to do this, write a poem about a time love made all the difference in some way. Or it could make the difference, or it will make the difference. So love making a difference, past, present, or future, that's the spark. That's the spark. Your dare for this week is send a poem to a friend. We need poetry, all of us. We need something encouraging. If you've written something, as my friend Cheryl wrote her beautiful poem about why she wrote a poem when she was 8, send it, right? You can send a poem you wrote or someone else wrote. But let's share poetry, because that is essentially sharing inspiration. And it says we care, and we have hope, and we're strong and alive as we are, and also full of love. So that's what's happening this week. Now, I'd love for you to send me poems if you'd like to. And again, you can send 1 poem, you can send 7 poems. A request. Please, no attachments. I've got a lot of poems and a lot of people to respond to, which I love, but it's a real help to me if you can send the poems in the body of your email. Just nothing to open, just helps me a lot. So again, if you could send me those poems by Friday at 5 p.m. to kate@katechadbourne.com, I'd be so grateful. And don't feel you need to write on this theme. You can write on anything you want. Don't be constrained. You don't have to write on the spark. Whatever you like. Just exciting to get your work. So thank you in advance. I'd also like to thank each of you who subscribe to this channel, and I'd like to invite you to do so. It's free. There's nothing, nothing required of you, but that means that when the videos come out each week, you'll get a little note if you subscribe, and I think you have to hit the bell to get so that you'll be notified. But that's wonderful, and it means that probably more people will get that this video might even get out to more poets. So please subscribe. Thank you all for your comments last week. Thank you for liking the video. It encourages me enormously. So I think that is us. You've got your spark and your dare. And I mostly am just wishing you all a wonderful week of poetry, reading it, writing it, living it, and celebrating it. Thank you all. I'll see you next week.